Souls. My name is Dinka Salvador, and welcome back to my channel. She is all about a community where you can feel seen, heard, and that you are enough. I strongly feel that there is a very big need for such a community. So, since I couldn't find one, I went ahead and created one. So, that's why we're here. Today, I want to talk to you about change and why it's so hard, right? Because I'm sure that you also made a New Year's resolution, or maybe not in that context, but just, you set yourself a goal that you wanted to achieve something, you wanted to change something about yourself, pick up a habit or quit one. And so why is it so difficult? What's about change that is so hard? We understand it in our head that we have to change something in order to get better results or to feel better or to look better or whatever your goal is. But why is it so hard? Why do we fail when it comes to change? There's this quote from Lewis Carroll. It's from Alice in Wonderland. It goes, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. So I think that's pretty much one of the main elements for success, that you really have to be specific. You have to set specific goals. You cannot be just like vague, eventually I want to start or stop doing something, right? Like you have to be very, very specific about what you want to achieve, because if you don't have an aim, if you don't have a goal, then it's very difficult to get there, right? So I think that's one of the things that a lot of people maybe miss. We would say things like, I will start eating healthier when, and then it's kind of like when the time is right, or it's kind of a vague deadline or a condition, like when the time is, when I'm not so busy, or when I'm done with whatever I'm doing, because it kind of takes the stress of actually starting a habit, but then it also doesn't get you the results, right? There's another quote that I really like. I think it's from Tony Robbins. It goes, change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. So basically, just to give you an example from my life, things started to get better around my endometriosis that I'm healing from when I just had it with the traditional approach, like, traditional medicine. They basically gave me two options. They told me either I have to surgically remove all of my uterus, which I found a little bit of an overkill, or I had to take hormonal pills until pretty much I start menopause, which at that time, if I'm anything like my mother, it would have been at least a good 10 years. And I don't want to take pills, like hormonal pills, for 10 years. I find that crazy. So none of these options worked for me. And this pushed me to go and search for another approach. And basically, after a while, I found that with lifestyle changes such as nutrition and other habits, you can actually improve a condition like endometriosis. And it's a journey. I'm still healing from it, right? I'm not without symptoms, but it's night and day. I've been on this journey for over 2 years now, and I cannot even explain to you how much improvement I am experiencing. Just to give you an idea where we started, it would have been like laying in a fetal position on the floor and crying from pain during the first 2 or 3 days of my period because it was just so intense. And now I still experience pain, but it's much more manageable and the bleeding is less. It's really significant to me. I no longer dread having my periods, because it used to be like, okay, I mean, I cannot schedule anything. I cannot be active. Like I had to miss work often because I was just in so much pain. At a certain point, I was bleeding so much that my gums were going completely white. They had to give me pills to stop the bleeding because I was going anemic. And, this is not normal. And then, of course, you would hear things like, oh, this is completely normal to have a painful period, from a male gynecologist. And I'm like, can I hear this from someone with a uterus? Like, how do you know that this is normal? I always felt that this wasn't normal. I always felt that this is not how it's supposed to be. It took me over 15 years just to get diagnosed with endometriosis, because I had to push for it and there is no test. So they actually literally have to go and put like a little camera in your abdomen and see for those kind of tissues. If you don't know what endometriosis is, it's basically a condition where you have certain tissues in your abdomen in places where they're not supposed to be, and they cause really heavy inflammation. And a lot of women have this, and modern medicine doesn't really provide you a solution for this. So I found it very, very frustrating, because it's also something that occurs every single month, right? Like, it's not something that, okay, you have it once a year and you just kind of suck it up and then you go on with your life. It's something that impacts your life very, very frequently. And not just your life, because it also impacts people around you, your partner. You cannot show up for your children, maybe you cannot go to work. So it's much bigger than just yourself. Anyway, getting back to why change is hard and how can you make it easier. So basically, I think that once the pain of staying the same is becoming bigger than the fear or the pain of change, then you actually have a very good chance to achieve something and change something about your life. But it all starts with awareness, in my opinion. You cannot change something that you're not aware of. So what I like to do and also suggest to other people is to make a life audit. Look at your life and try to be honest with yourself. What are the things that you can improve or you want to improve? We all know the things that we need to work on. I think that you also know what are those habits that you want to drop or start, and just take responsibility. Because if you are not honest with yourself, if you don't face those things that need changing, then there is no way that it can change. Another trick that I like to use is write down the things that you would like to see change happening in that realm, and give it a number from 1 to 10. Like, what is your willingness to change? For example, you want to eat a healthier diet. Okay, so where am I at this range between 1 and 10? What is my willingness? It's going to take effort, because I will have to find maybe a different grocery store or a different source to get my food from. Maybe I will have to find other recipes that my regular rotation, because I will have to exclude certain things. So it will definitely take effort. So where is my willingness on that scale from 1 to 10 in order to make this change happen? And so write down a couple of goals that you want to achieve and just have a look at the numbers. And honestly, if the number is less than 7, I think it's better to work on your willingness before even attempting change. Why? Because if your willingness is not there, then again, it's going to be very, very difficult. If deep down you already know that, yeah, I kind of want to change, but maybe later, not right now, it's just not going to stick. So what can you do to improve your willingness? You can educate yourself on the topic. You can join a community, or you can look up some recipes, or you can buy a book about healthier eating and just make yourself a little bit more comfortable and savvy with the topic, so that it doesn't feel so overwhelming and so alien, and kind of work yourself up to that 7 or 8 level, where you feel like, okay, now I'm ready to take the plunge, and I'm going to actually implement things, and I'm going to make a change in that area of my life. Another important thing is, what are you willing to change for? So what is your goal? Why do you want to eat healthier? Just to stick to the same example, what is the reason behind it? Is it because you're experiencing any kind of physical symptoms? Is it because you want to be a better example for your partner, for your family, for your kids? Is it because you just feel like this is something that you want to try? They're all valid reasons. It has to be important to you. It doesn't have to be validating to someone else, but it's very important that you know, why are you making this change? If you're making this change because you want to lose weight, because you want to feel better about yourself, that's also 100% valid reason. You don't have to, but if this is your goal, that's also perfect. Another thing that I would say is, try to figure out what is the best habit or best change that you can implement in your life that will give you the biggest results, and just focus on that one or maybe two things, because it's very difficult to try to get like a personality transplant, if you know what I mean. You shouldn't change everything about yourself. We all have that ideal self, right? There's always a gap between who we actually are and who we want to be. And the goal of personal development is that we little by little, get closer to our ideal self. But this is not an overnight gig, right? It's not just going to happen like, okay, new year, new me. I'm just going to write out all the things that I don't like about myself, and I'm just going to change everything from one day to another. I'm going to write 20 new habits in my habit tracker, and everything's going to be amazing. Yeah, maybe for a week. And then you will feel really crappy about yourself because it gives you a sense of failure. But this is not how you approach change. This is pretty much a recipe for disaster, because you will feel guilty that you didn't keep up with all those habits. You will feel like a failure because, yeah, it's overwhelming. Maybe there's like a 1% of people who can actually keep up with so many new habits, but it's unattainable. It's not realistic. And also, perfect should never be your goal, because perfect is boring to start with. And again, it's just not real. You have to be realistic about your goals. So basically, just try to figure out, of all the things that you want to change about yourself, what is the most attainable and what will give the biggest impact on your current life. So for example, if you want to be healthier, you want to feel better about yourself, probably I would suggest two things. Either you start drinking enough water, because like 90% of the world's population is severely dehydrated. So if you're in that 10%, good on you. But I would say that most of the people out there, myself included, need to up their hydration game and pay more attention. Drink better water, drink it with a little bit of sea salt in it, because that helps your body to be able to use the water. And we are 70% water, 90% on a molecular level, just by existing, like breathing, sweating, digestion, and all the other processes that our body is doing for us. You lose about 8 glasses of water each day. So just to break even, you need to drink 8 glasses of water, and then you're still dehydrated. So for example, water is a good place to start. Or sleep, for instance, prioritizing your sleep, getting very clear on how many hours of sleep do you need, what time is your bedtime, and what are the things that you can do to improve your sleep, like cutting off caffeine at a certain point of the day, or again, staying hydrated. That's also something that can improve your sleep as well. This is probably worth making a separate video, but basically figuring out what the best habits are to improve your overall life is probably a good place to start. And then pick one or two, start with that, baby steps. We don't want to overwhelm ourselves. We don't want to be 1 week in the gym and then never go back again, right? So we want to aim for realistic and attainable goals. Basically, change is a skill. Being able to change or like developing new habits is a skill. You kind of have to get to one, and then eventually, when you master one, then things will get easier. And you can also stack certain habits so they kind of piggyback on each other. Try to set yourself up for success instead of failure. And then I also want to talk about the physiology of change, because I think that's also an important part, that you kind of understand how the body works or how our brain works. Basically, our brain wants to save energy, and change is basically new habits, is making new neural pathways in your brain. But that's not what the brain wants. The brain wants to remain the same and use the same old little paths that are already existing. Maybe it helps if you imagine the brain like a jungle. And then, so these little paths that we are trying to make, so the new connections, the habits, when they are non-existent, you pretty much have to take a machete and cut your way through the jungle, and it's hard. But then the more you repeat the same new behavior, the easier it will get, the broader the path will be in the jungle, and eventually it becomes natural. There will be no resistance. This is why you shouldn't start with 20 new habits, because it's going to be challenging to just stick to that one. But so this is how the brain works, and this is why we have such resistance to change and to new things. So basically, baby steps. I would say create an environment where it's easy to make a good decision, the right decision, the one that you want to implement in your life. Set yourself up for success, not for failure. Like, for example, if you want to work out in the morning, prepare your workout clothes so you don't have to think about it. You wake up, the clothes are there, so I'm putting them on. So I'm going to go to the gym or just work out at home. For instance, I prioritize my water intake. So what I do, I have my water bottle and I prepare my water, all of it that I have to drink per day in the morning. And I just take my bottle everywhere with me. It's a big bottle. And I just make sure that I have it. I prepare it in the morning and then I don't have to think about it. This is my daily quota. And some days I manage, some days I don't. But I don't have to think about it. I don't have to make a decision because the water bottle is there. It's getting filled up every morning. It's non-negotiable. And still, it happens that I don't meet my daily goals. So what? I'm human. I'm not a robot. So it's perfectly okay that you slip up one day. This is also very important, that you don't have unrealistic expectations of yourself. Maybe have an accountability partner that's kind of a cheerleader who helps you to stay on track, keeps you accountable, reminds you like, hey, you remember you wanted to quit snacking? So, do you really want to eat that, I don't know, chocolate bar? Or just have someone who has access to your habit tracker. For instance, I use an app which is called Habit Share. This is not like sponsored or anything, maybe one day, but I use an app which is called Habit Share. And as the name suggests, you can set up habits in this app and you can share it with your friends. You can decide, you can put habits just for yourself, but you can also share it with other people. And to me, it helps to, well, one, motivate other people because I do have some habits that are pretty long standing. And also to keep me accountable that I don't just do this for myself. I also do it for other people to motivate them and to show that it's possible. I also have, red dots in my habit tracker because, again, I'm a human being. It happens. Sometimes you travel or you get sick or life happens. But I also want to show that it's okay to slip up. It's okay not to meet all your goals every day. Because if you think that you are always going to meet all of your goals perfectly, you are wrong. This is never going to happen. Or maybe, again, you are that 1%. But let's just not aim for that. I don't think that life is going to be much fun if the only thing that you focus on is just meeting all your daily habits, because it's something that should be important if you commit to it, but it can happen that you don't get there, and that's also fine. What I also like to implement is called the 2-day rule. So basically, when it happens that I don't meet one of my daily goals, I make sure the day after that I definitely get back on track. It can happen that I slip up. It's a permission slip to slip up. But then I make the promise to myself that I will definitely meet the same goal the next day. So this kind of takes the pressure off. I don't have to be perfect all the time. But when I do fall off the wagon, I make an extra effort the day after to be sure that I meet that goal. So maybe that's also just an idea for you in order to stay on track and keep things going. But anyway, let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video.